Skeptic's Path to Enlightenment is a nonprofit organization supported entirely by your donations. If you've ever enjoyed one of our podcast episodes or classes, please consider making a donation of any size right now on our website at skepticspath.org. I'm Scott Snibbe, and this is a Skeptic's Path to Enlightenment, where we share practical ideas from Buddhism to build happier lives, stronger relationships, and a better world. Yangsi Rinpoche gave a beautiful talk a couple months ago with the intriguing title, Contentment Plus Ambition. He was generous enough to sit down with me afterward in San Francisco for an interview about the same topic, in which he talks about how to practice real self-compassion and even how we can create the causes for world peace. Yangsi Rinpoche studied at Sera Jey Monastery in South India until 1995, when he graduated with the highest degree of Geshe Lharampa. Rinpoche now lives in Portland, Oregon, where he's president and professor of Buddhist studies at Maitripa College, a Buddhist Institute of higher education striving to integrate modern academics with ancient wisdom. Yangsi Rinpoche, thank you so much for agreeing to do an interview with me and A Skeptic's Path to Enlightenment.
Okay. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Our podcast tries to share the wisdom of Tibetan Buddhism, particularly analytical meditation, with people who don't necessarily share the worldview of classic Buddhism, like people who don't believe in karma or rebirth or other realms, but they still want to benefit from the tools, particularly of analytical meditation. Quite often, His Holiness lately has been saying, analytical meditation, good for people to practice. So we try to share interviews with great teachers like yourself to think about how we can keep Buddhist practices authentic while adapting them to cultures and people who don't believe in those things. I have a quote from you. Once you said, faith does not require belief.
Okay.
And maybe that's a good place to start with, what does that mean?
Basically, in Tibetan tradition, we say unification of wisdom and faith. Belief seems like that's it. You kind of get into the destination and you're just kind of like there's no challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say faith is basically setting up perfect foundation, perfect environment to wisdom to take off. Otherwise, our wisdom becomes very critical, very negative. That kind of like a negative approach really doesn't open up. So I'm using the word faith, but basically a clear mind, genuine mind, a perfect environment to launch wisdom.
What does clear mean? What does it mean to have a clear mind?
Clear mind as I'm not talking point of view of a clear as alert, as a clear mind as intention is non-aggressive or kind of gentle. Is there's a kind of like a very fresh mind, the mind that have not that much influence or habits, kind of absence of those injections. So it's kind of like a pure and clear. It's basically kind of fresh mind. It's sometimes I'm starting from fresh.
Yeah.
It's almost like some kind of like a very present, very alert, very open, very pay attentioning. And then here we get this wisdom launched into that kind of environment. So we can more benefit than the side effects.
And that's how you would explain faith, that faith is that open, clear, stable mind.
It's not so much about belief or trust in the faith, particularly in the Tibetan Buddhism. Culturally, we might understood different way. Maybe the definition can be more open from my point of view. It should not be so narrow.
It sounds like confidence, maybe a confidence without an ego, or more openness, just openness.
This less judgmental mind is running background. It's like a really want to deep listen and deep pay attention. Usually, like, you pay attention, but then there's a judgmental mind comes. There's less this kind of activity into the so-called faith. And just basically in Tibetan Buddhism, we will make an analogy of the faith as a pure water. Pure water is an analogy. And basically, once the water is pure and clear, reflections of a full moon, spontaneous. And so therefore this is like all the blessings, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are present once the mind is pure, like a water, clear, pure.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Today you were teaching a very original teaching on the three turnings. You used the terms contentment and calm abiding and concentration. I wonder if you could explain the first one about contentment. I in my notes, you said the Four Noble Truths teaching is a way to assess ourselves at a deeper level, where we are, where we're from. Can you talk about how you could do that, especially for someone who's unfamiliar with the Buddhist worldview?
I think, usually, of course, we all the time do, for certain extent, assessment, like what's our background, where we are, and where we're going. And Four Noble Truth approach is that kind of similar assessment, but expanding further and deeper. Basically, let's get a little bit deeper. That includes karma. It comes down to what is a self, what is a consciousness? Are we just here, that's it? Or is there something that continues, not only for, this life?
And for a person who doesn't understand karma, doesn't have faith in karma, how would you explain that concept to them so they understand it, psychologically?
I think, karma basically means cause and effect. So people don't accept cause and effect, then there's no way to explain karma. So cause and effect. And then negative cause and effect and positive cause and effect. Then this karmic situation, some you can kind of predict it, kind of logic based. Because of this. Because of this, not because of this and this. Then karma goes to the next level. You cannot see the causal. You cannot be able to observe. In here, lots of people, our answer is accident. Randomness. I was lucky. I have a good parking karma. There's something goes beyond the kind of because of this, because of that. Something that we are not able to explain, but becomes kind of like intuition, and something that you read that reality slightly different way than how we read it. So as a person, we need to open up that, slowly allowing them to see different way of reading yourself and the world around us. And that's, I think, can bring to deeper understanding of karma. It's so much, then you comes that different method, a way of reading reality can bring belief in the karmic cause and effect. And that is a personal and individual. It don't have to be universal, kind of like everybody have to agree.
And as you say, everyone accepts cause and effect. And a lot of the modern view is that things happen at random, that we don't know. But there is somehow there's a cause and effect.
Usually in classical texts, we say karma and condition. And so from the Buddhist point of view, basically, they say like, okay, set the right condition. So that makes the ideal karmic seeds flourish.
And from the Buddhist perspective, delusions are the dominant factor, right?
Exactly.
That even if you have a propensity for some negative action, if your mind has less or no delusions, then those seeds can't ripen. Those things won't happen.
Delusion is like the obstacle on the path. So therefore, purification practice is the really ultimate practice, because you are taking out the fuel for the fire, taking out fuel for the obstacle or the condition for the obstacle.
But you were talking about today how the fuel of anger is dissatisfaction. I wonder if you could talk more about that, how dissatisfaction is that inaccurate state of mind that becomes the seed for more destructive emotions.
Yeah. in Shantideva's patient chapter, he talks that kind of element of dissatisfaction is fundamentally there is some kind of like a unsettled, ungrounded, although externally looks like perfect environment, perfect setting. Emotionally, psychologically, somehow that ungrounded, unsettled, unsatisfied state mind is the perfect condition to ripening negative karma. Perfect condition.
And that's how, even if you're a billionaire, even if you have a comfortable life, even if you have a nice family, you can feel that dissatisfaction.
Yeah, external things just paint. And at the end, the mind and the experience, it's like you can have a mansion, but it's like a paint.
Yeah, just like a painting.
Just as a painting. Yeah. Sometimes you're at the airport. You don't need so many things. You just need one small bag. You can survive. So like it's really, I think, if we have a culture and the norms that we can say the mind will do everything. That would be really good. I think, it's not easy, but that kind of like norms and understanding.
Yeah, that the mind is the primary source of our satisfaction and our dissatisfaction.
Yeah. Yeah, that takes lots of practice to shift. I think it's easy to say, but like it is a journey to take it.
So the opposite of dissatisfaction, you use the word contentment. Mm-hmm. How do we cultivate that?
There is a kind of like not drinking salt water. You just have the pure water, the natural water, not the soft drinks that you drink and you want to have the next sip. Then you have the next sip. No, just drinking pure water. Mm-hmm. And that's healthy for body, healthy for mind.
It's the old metaphor in Buddhism that with salt water, you can drink as much salt water as you want, but you're never satisfied. And now we have many new types of salt water. Like,
sweet water.
Yeah, we have sweet water, which has the same problem. It's addictive. You're never satisfied. And it's not good for you.
Exactly. But fundamentally, if it's good, then yes, we'll drink as many we want, but ultimately it's not good.
So one form of dissatisfaction is wanting things, that your life isn't complete if you don't have certain physical things, a partner that you love, circumstances that you like. Can you talk about how you come to contentment on that side?
If we're talking about contentment, what that means, first we need to accept our own self.
Yeah.
That's the fundamental step. We are looking outside there because we forgot ourselves and we didn't really pay attention. I think this is step number one to learning contentment. So once you accept yourself and kind for yourself, now the real whole is covered. Mm. In the West, you call this self-compassion. I think something that is not necessarily egotistical, but you have to feel yourself somehow not negative way. So morning when we get up, treat yourself good first. Basically, give a treat for yourself.
And how would you advise someone to do that practically?
I'll say two things, basically give a really good oxygen, breathe, movement, circulation is good for our body. These two together will help our mind to clear up, like a practice of yoga, breathing exercise, meditation. These we need to see as a part of self-compassion. Then once we do all these things, then I think we have a perfect foundation to not so much all the time, I want something, I'm lacking something. I'm lacking something is the key ingredient for dissatisfaction. I don't have this. So that makes I want this. I want this as a follow-up. I want this, I want that. Some kind of absence and a lacking. Where that come from is because we never attention, care for our own self, and so-called self-compassion. We haven't. So that's, I think, the way I see, like just doing simple things. Mm-hmm. Just doing simple things, we can naturally kind of balance that kind of dissatisfaction.
And what about things that might feel good to? I mean, you said the benefits of fresh air, exercise, nature. This is what scientists also say is really good. But is it okay to like those things too? What is it?
Anything, there's a tendency, obsession.
Yeah.
Even meditation can be obsession. Even healthy medicine can fall into the obsession. So again, I think we don't need to worry that part this moment.
It's not a problem yet for most of us.
Or obsession for doing good stuff. Because it was not done to fulfill of the absence. So I think naturally obsession, not too much. Obsession comes based on the absence. And there is that fear, and that triggers that obsession. Basic, gentle things for our own self, which is not really based on the absence, and just pay attention for our own self. So I think less generally, because it's not trying to satisfy something.
From caring more than wanting.
Exactly.
And what would you say to someone who has a lot of longing, like anger at injustice and inequity, unfairness, the awful things in the world, war and racism and socioeconomic inequalities? Some people will say you don't want to feel content about those things. How do we keep the energy to fight the things that we feel are wrong in the world while staying content?
Absolutely. I think the most important way we fight, so we doesn't add more fuel on the fire, is basically the mindfulness fight, the compassionate fight. The aggression comes when we really expect the change happen now. And this is our habit. But for us, I think it's important to really invest into the cause 100% and then let go. Because right now there's a vicious cycle. If we all kind of united, invest into the cause and let's allow. And I think there will be less kind of separating me and they and these, and blaming game will be less. We invest all the energy into the cause.
Yeah, so the feeling of separateness and blaming and anger are ways that just make problems worse.
It adds into the, you don't want to that problem, but you somehow you add from different window.
Yeah. So then how do you have the wisdom to know the cause? Like, what is the cause of an equitable society, for example?
I think really voicing up your thoughts through compassion. 7 billion or how many billion people is a little bit complicated to have a huge change immediately. So it's a huge wheel turning, take a time, and we should accept that. But it's never late to the action into the cause.
So with the compassion, the motivation is very important. I think what you're saying is with a compassionate motivation, then your actions are most likely to be of benefit. And then also what you're saying is think long term, that you create the causes, but there are so many different conditions and beings involved that have been going on for thousands, if not millions of years, that to also have some patience. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Also just accept the reality. There's a diversity of ideas, a way of thinking. Everybody have a right to exist. So, really, you put that cause there, and whatever your cause have a more cause kind of collected, that's how you win.
You were talking about how this is the basis of concentration, that without we might use the word ethics as what you're talking about as the ground layer of Buddhist practice, the mind, is making sure that you're content, you're satisfied, you don't feel longing, anger. Does that then become the ground for the next step of meditation, calm abiding, what you were saying? How does meditation help our mind?
To meditate, you have to be quite ambitious. I think we have to see people who say, I'm going to meditate. That means you are really ambition. You are trying to diving into something, into the history of the universe. Few people able to succeed. So anyway, here, contentment, I'm just mainly talking about the contentment and ambition. It can be beautiful ambition, peaceful ambition based on contentment. Compassionate ambition, that is based on contentment. We don't want to have an ambition that is aggressive and violent and stressful and tension and race and comparativeness. So basically, Buddhism is big cleaning business. Contentment kind of sets the condition to really to do a thorough cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
Thorough cleaning. And then meditations are working out those subtle dust. Subtle dust. You don't need air purifier. So it's like a really subatomic level. And you're able to kind of dust out that dust that bothers.
Meditation is like a personal cleaning business of your own mind.
Exactly.
You're trying to gradually clean your mind of its delusions. Yeah. Can you talk about the ways to do that? Some of the ways we do that, they're not literal. You're not literally picking up pieces of dirt, but we do these like purification practices. What are those and how do those work for people to clean your mind? So to start with non-judgmental view, which you say mindfulness is the foundation, and the non-judgment is toward yourself and also to others.
Yes.
And then to look at your habits, to be able to look at what you say your top 10 habits, which are probably some aversion, some attraction. And then what you said was very beautiful, to try to see through those habits to how people, really are, how they are. What does that mean, how someone really is?
Instead of my voice, my imposing onto you, instead of that, let me see whoever you are. And that's, I think, step number one. And the meditation of emptiness, all this advanced meditation is trying to see without any kind of dust, direct, and kind of see through. The dust will be there, but it's like those MRI machines that you can see through.
I used to remember, as I got to know a person, I remember they often start to look very different to you. When you see someone at first without knowing them, their face looks a certain way. And then later, once you know them, they almost look entirely different, And sometimes I try to remember back to what did that person look like when I first saw them? And I wonder if that's some of my habits laying onto that person.
Yes, lots of time our close people which we have a history a lot, we don't see that person. We see all the stories. And the stories, the narratives, the histories, just you seeing that. So I think all this meditation, that's whole purpose is to somehow, can I see without imposing my own story onto you, and can I kind of push away a little bit the history and able to kind of see the real person, Yeah, that's, I think, the training is fundamentally, mind can see much deeper.
I'm married, and I feel that with my wife a lot. Sometimes I think she's driving me crazy, this person, why are we always have the same argument or something? Then other times I think, she's the most wonderful person in the world. I'm so lucky she's my wife, and she's wonderful. And then sometimes, every once in a while, it's like she's a stranger in a good way, like very curious, like, oh, who is this person really? And that's the one that does actually feel good, like you're saying, is that it's actually, I don't know. It's a feeling of, wow, I don't actually still, even though we've known each other for 25 years, I still don't know you. And that's a nice feeling.
Exactly. Yes. It's not only that from Buddhist point of view, even I don't know myself.
You don't even know yourself.
Buddha said, you don't know yourself. Don't just live alone other people. So it's like, it's got this popular statement, meditation of emptiness of self. You have to do that first.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about contentment, calm abiding, self-compassion?
I think one thing, particularly contentment, can be misunderstood. So therefore I say contentment with the ambition. So I add these qualities. We need to see there is a strength. It's not passive. Yeah, there's a very powerful strength. Content and ambition go together. I was kind of pushing that that narrative. Contentment and a driven energy can go together, but that's much more gentle. Generally, I think one thing important is the mind is the source of everything.
Yeah.
And our education, our culture, many things we need to really pay attention for our mind. Pay attention for our own mind is one way, the best way to pay attention for our own self. If we're not able to pay attention to ourselves, how we can pay attention for another living thing? The compassion doesn't happen. So therefore, the training into the pay attention for our own awareness and thoughts and things are, I think, the first training to have self-compassion. I mean, I can say this word, but I'm myself also trying, and I really believe, and I think from this kind of perspective, I see world peace is possible. You know, we all want no suffering. We all want some kind of peace. So from that point of view, I think, I think we're all on the same track.
It's a very nice thing to hear that world peace is possible. I think very few people maybe believe that right now. And what you're saying through what seems like a contradictory combination of things, of contentment, ambition, and patience to balance. I think as I've gone deeper into Buddhism, that's what I've seen is there's these balancing factors, that you find the middle way, as you sometimes say. That it is possible to be content, to be ambitious, and to be patient, to find happiness for ourselves and also to change the world for the better. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. I think there is all the ingredients within us for everybody to be able to create world peace. I think there's this huge noise is just kind of like on the way. But I think from the structure of the mind and how we are set up, what we want, we all want kind of simple. Not that complicated, just kind of like from bigger picture point of view, we all want kind of same thing. One time I was watching one documentary, and it's in Pakistan, and there's a minority of Christianity, and they show in the document, and the Muslim and Christian, they all looks like same. They looks like dressing same. They're eating same. They're living environment very much same. But there's this tiny dust, and that pick up into that dust, exact looking same. Like my thought at that moment, like, oh my God, we are like crazy.
We emphasize the tiny differences between ourselves when really we have such a ground of similarity. All humans basically want the same things: happiness, satisfaction, good relationships, peace.
Very simple, very simple. I think one way, a bigger picture, so we all looks like this, nobody have 3 heads and 6 noses or something like that. We're not dreaming for something impossible. I think we should have that dream, world peace is possible because of that. Because we are so similarity, then not so much zoom lighting in this one dust, small tiny dust, more magnifying. But, like really, it's just like a small shift.
Don't emphasize the differences. Try to emphasize what we have in common together. And probably over and over, right? In meditation, as Buddhists, we do that every morning, we remember, right?
See the similarity rather than focusing into the different.
Yeah, focus on what we have in common.
Yeah.
Well, Rinpoche, thank you so much for spending a little time with me. I think people are going to really enjoy hearing your voice and your wisdom.
Thank you. And you are doing a wonderful job. I rejoice. Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Very kind.
Thank you. Your contribution for world peace.
My own small contribution.
My own contribution, whatever, you create that condition to share my thoughts.
Yeah.
So that's, we did our part.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Made our small cause.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us for my conversation with Yangsi Rinpoche. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider making a donation to our podcast. A Skeptic's Path to Enlightenment is a nonprofit organization. Our podcast is free and ad-free thanks to our generous donors. To support us now, visit our website at skepticspath.org. We accept cash, credit, Bitcoin, and other cryptocurrencies, and your donations are tax-deductible in the U.S. If you'd like to deepen this conversation, please join our private meditation community and newsletter through the links on our website, or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Thanks to Annie Nguyen for production and story editing, Christian Parry for mastering, and Isabella Acebal for marketing. We wish you a wonderful day.